You know that my brother already passed away, right? So you don't count as my sister-in-law anymore. Quit living in my father's mansion. You're nothing but a parasite, leeching off of what doesn't belong to you. Get out of here immediately. It's our family's house, and you don't belong here.
Are we seriously going over this again, Morgan? I've already explained it to you countless times, but let me make it clear once again. This house belongs to me.
Who in their right mind would ever believe such absurd nonsense coming from you? A parasitic bum like you could never own or even live in a mansion as luxurious as this. So, let's not forget the obvious fact that this house is owned by my brother. It's legally under his name, not yours, and never will be.
For your information, I've been living here ever since I started dating Ethan, long before we got married. How many times do I have to spell this out for you that this is my home?
No matter how many times you repeat that lie, it won't change anything. You don't belong here, and you never will. Leave our family's house right now, and don't even think about coming back.
Are you seriously okay with me packing up and leaving just like that? Is that really what you want to happen here?
Why are you even asking me this? Of course, that's exactly what I want. You can pack your things and get out of here right now without further delay. You're nothing but a parasite who has overstayed her welcome. Leave this house immediately. Trust me, you won't be missed at all.
You keep throwing the word parasite at me, but you don't seem to realize something important about this whole situation. When I leave, you'll be the one in serious trouble, not me. You'll soon find out who the real parasite is here. Let's be honest, who's really the one leeching off this mansion? Maybe you should take a good look in the mirror.
Trouble? What kind of trouble could I possibly face? You'll be the one who's completely lost without someone to leech off of. Isn't that how you've always managed to survive? I can almost guarantee you grew up poor, struggling just to make ends meet. That's probably why you're acting so desperate.
Wow, you really have no clue, do you? Let's continue this conversation later, okay? I've had enough of this nonsense for today.
What? Are you seriously trying to end the conversation here? You're missing the point. Today is the day I'm going to make sure you leave this house for good, no matter what. Do I really need to drag you out of here by force? Because I'll seriously barge into your room right now. Don't test me.
No, please don't. There's no need for violence. Just give me some time to gather my things and leave peacefully. I can't just walk out with nothing but the clothes on my back.
What kind of preparations could you possibly need? You can leave with nothing but the clothes you came in with. Or are you planning to steal from the house on your way out? Is that why you need extra time to prepare? I knew you'd have the nerve to try that, you freeloader.
No, where did that come from? That's not what I mean at all. You're misunderstanding me.
No, I know you only married Ethan for his money. That's the only reason you were ever interested in him from the start. Stop pretending you care about anything else. You were living off his income, and now that he's gone, you've even taken his inheritance. You've already got your share, so quit trying to take more from the rest of our family. When will you stop being a thief to our family's money?
Don't talk to me like that. It wasn't me who was after his money. It was your family. Constantly taking advantage of his generosity while he was alive. You all drained him emotionally and financially, never caring about his well-being, only about what you could gain. You had the nerve to do that, even though you never once bothered to visit him while he was in the hospital before his death.
You think we were leeching off of Ethan? He was sharing his money with us. It's what families are supposed to do. But let's get one thing straight. You're not family, and you never will be. You've overstayed your welcome, and it's time for you to leave this house. I'll make sure you're gone, even if it means I have to use force to get you out.
Huh? What do you mean by that? Are you seriously threatening me right now?
Do you finally understand not to mess around with me anymore? If you don't want me to beat you up even more, then pack up and leave this house immediately. This is your last warning. Don't test my patience any further.
Wait, what did you just do to me? You were serious with your threats? You really started forcing yourself in and punching me to push me out of this house. You can't just do that. This is outrageous.
You're seriously telling me that I barged in here? This is my family's house, and I'm taking back what's rightfully ours. There's nothing wrong with what I've done. I'm merely removing the unwelcome bottom feeder who's clung to us for far too long.
You don't realize the mistake you're making. But fine, I'll leave. Just remember, you'll regret this decision later, and it'll be too late to change your mind.
What are you even saying? You really think that I'm making a mistake here? You're nothing but a pathetic leech, so don't even try to scare me with empty words. They're meaningless coming from someone as insignificant as you. Leave this place immediately. I won't tolerate any more stalling or excuses, do you understand? No more wasting time.
Fine, I'll leave right now, but don't think this is the end.
I'm telling you, go ahead and leave. Don't ever show your face around here again. We're cutting ties with you completely for good. From this moment on, you're no longer part of our lives or our family. I'm so glad this is happening because we'll be much better off without you.
Chloe, where on earth did you disappear to? I've been looking for you, and you're not home like you typically are. It's nearly lunchtime now. Aren't you supposed to be in the kitchen preparing my meal like you always do? Hurry up.
Oh, about that. I've actually been kicked out of the house, so I'm not exactly in a position to cook. I'm sorry, but I won't be able to prepare lunch today. You'll need to find another solution.
Why are you trying to talk your way out of this? This is ridiculous. I don't care what happened earlier. Just come back and make my meal like you're supposed to. No excuses.
Gosh, the selfishness in this family never ceases to amaze me. Truly unbelievable. Who do you think you are demanding this from me?
Excuse me? Watch your mouth. Don't you dare speak to me in that disrespectful tone, or you'll regret it.
Morgan has made it clear that I am no longer considered part of this family, so I don't need to be formal with you any longer. I can't believe you expect me to speak to you like you're my boss or something. You're too demanding of me.
You seem to be under some illusion that you were ever considered part of this family. Let me make it clear. We've never thought of you as anything more than a slave. We never loved you. We just loved how convenient you were to us.
So you're siding with Morgan on this, agreeing that I should leave the house for good?
Absolutely. Even my husband said you were a nuisance. You're no longer welcome here. Morgan is his real daughter, and with her around, there's no place for you in our house. We only tolerated your presence out of respect for Ethan's memory, but we're fed up with you now.
If that's truly what you want, then I'll respect your wishes and never return to this mansion again. I'll also make sure to finalize the paperwork in order to transfer the ownership of this house.
Yes, that's exactly what I want. Go ahead and finish up whatever is necessary. This house belongs to us. I won't let it go to someone who's been freeloading off of Ethan's hard-earned inheritance for far too long.
Oh, is that how you see it? I have to wonder who the real freeloader in this situation is. From this point on, you'll have to fend for yourselves, including preparing your own meals. I'm no longer involved in your lies.
I'd like to say the same to you. You might think you're secure now, but mark my words. You'll be the one struggling soon enough. I wish you the best of luck, because you're going to need it. Be careful not to starve to death out in the streets.
Hey, what's going on here? I can't believe what I just received in the mail. A bill just came in for $50,000 in rent. How am I supposed to pay such an amount?
Yep, the rent for living in that luxurious mansion of yours is quite high, so make sure to pay it promptly. It would be incredibly embarrassing to fall behind on rent payments in such a high-end condo complex.
You never told me that there was rent to be paid. Why are we being charged with this? This condominium was Ethan's property, right? He owned it, so I was under the impression that we didn't have to worry about rent.
Whoever told you that? This place was never owned by Ethan's. I lived here alone and was renting this place out the whole time. It's been this way from the very beginning. After Ethan and I got married, he chose to move in with me here, but this was always my home first.
What do you mean you lived alone in such a luxurious home? It seems so extravagant for one person.
Well, I had a lot of money back then. I've been running a business for years, and I'm still going at it.
Wait, are you telling me that you own and operate your own business?
Yes, that's right. I'm surprised you didn't know this already. I assumed it was common knowledge within the family. I work from home, managing everything online. I own a shop, and it's been pretty successful. Honestly, how could you not know this? My business is the entire reason I crossed paths with your brother in the first place. Anyway, that's why this condo has always been both my home and my office. That's how it's been from years ago.
Are you serious? I had absolutely no idea about any of this. Well then, this works out perfectly. Why don't you take responsibility and pay the rent for all of us?
What are you trying to say here? Are you seriously suggesting this?
Yes, and it makes perfect sense. We can't afford to pay $50,000 every month, but you can. You're the successful business owner here, right? You should be the one paying the rent for this place.
Why in the world would I pay rent for a place that I'm not even living in? It's absurd. Don't you realize how ridiculous your request sounds? You're asking me to pay for something I don't even use.
No, because this is entirely your fault. You should have mentioned the rent beforehand. We could have planned something if we knew.
But you did read the ownership transfer documents, didn't you? Everything was laid out plainly in the documents. It's not my fault if you simply didn't pay attention.
Who even reads those tiny print details? This whole situation feels like a setup, like we're being defrauded. You've tricked us into this situation, and now you expect us to just accept it? We shouldn't have to deal with this. You need to take responsibility and pay up immediately.
There is absolutely no way I'm paying for your rent. You'll have to figure out your own solution to this mess.
You don't get it. I've just started a business here with my partners, and now everything's at risk.
Huh? Is that true?
Yeah. I started a company together with my friends, and we're using this condominium as our office space. Losing this office space because we can't pay the rent would mean the end of our business. We can't let this happen.
So that's why you barged in here with a ton of strangers when you kicked me out. Well, if you're so desperate, why don't you split the rent with your business partners? That could work.
What? I've never heard of a company splitting its rent among employees. That's ridiculous. We never agreed on that.
Well, it's clear you'll need to come up with some solution quickly. Continuing to work here doesn't make sense if your partners can't handle the rent. Perhaps you should start by finding a more affordable place to operate your business.
My partners are furious about the $50,000 rent. We would have never guessed that this house would still have to be paid for. And now they're talking about quitting and leaving me in the dirt. I can't let that happen. I need to be successful.
It sounds like they weren't committed to the business from the start. If you had a better team, things might have turned out differently.
I thought that by having an office in a rent-free building, we'd be able to keep all our profits and succeed. Don't you forget, Chloe, this all started because of you. It's all your fault.
Wow. No wonder you're in trouble now. You were foolish from the beginning. You don't know anything about business, do you? Even if you didn't have to pay rent, I seriously doubt that your business would have succeeded with your knowledge. You can't just expect things to work out without proper planning, and it's no surprise you're facing difficulties now.
Please, just pay our rent. You're wealthy and successful, so it should be nothing more than a minor inconvenience for you. It's just $50,000, which is hardly anything for someone in your position. Why not just cover it and avoid all this trouble?
I told you before that I wouldn't be helping you anymore, and I meant it. You're completely on your own now, so don't even think about relying on me for anything.
For someone who's supposed to be a successful business owner, you're unbelievably stingy. Ethan would have wanted you to do this to me. If you could see him in heaven right now, I'd bet he'd be crying.
Stop using Ethan's name in vain. It's disrespectful. He was my husband, and you have no right to exploit his memory.
Well, he was my brother, so I have every right to bring him up whenever I choose. You were just a latecomer in his life, someone who barely knew him. So quit acting all high and mighty as if you're entitled to anything to speak for him, and be quiet.
Morgan, what is going on here? You need to explain why we're suddenly in such a dire situation. You assured me everything would be fine, yet now we're facing a $50,000 rent bill? How could this happen?
I've told you multiple times already that I'm working on it. Just give me some time to sort things out, Mom.
You better tell me that you know how to fix this mess. We need to do something before we're evicted. How could you ever, never even mention anything about rent to me? How could you not know about it? Plus, where is the profit from that business of yours? You claimed that you would be our saving grace and promised it would be successful.
I already said I'm handling it. Can you just trust me for once and stop asking me so many questions? Please, just stop talking and give me some space to think. I can't deal with this right now.
What kind of tone is that to use with your mother? You should show more respect, especially in times like this.
I don't care about that right now. I have no time to deal with your complaints or anything else trivial. I'm currently busy talking about this with Chloe, so please, just wait a little bit longer and let me focus.
When are you planning to make my lunch anyway? I've been waiting, and you're not fulfilling your responsibilities. Ugh, you always find some excuse to skip out on working for me. I'm getting really tired of it. I'm hungry, and as my daughter, it's your duty to take care of this basic need. So why aren't you?
Why don't you take some responsibility and make your own food for a change, instead of relying on someone else to do it for you?
What's wrong with you? Chloe always took care of these things for me no matter what, without complaint. Even though you constantly criticize Chloe, she was far more reliable and helpful than you're being right now. You're honestly being absolutely useless than she ever was. This isn't what I expected from you as my daughter.
What's with that awful attitude? I can't believe how disrespectful you're being towards me. I don't care about this anymore. If things get worse, we'll just have to dip into Ethan's inheritance as a last resort.
What? That's an awful idea. We can't afford to squander something as important as his inheritance in this mess.
Just shut up already. Mom, you're driving me insane.
Enough of this. I clearly can't depend on you for anything. I'll have to convince Chloe to help with the rent.
No, don't do anything unnecessary. Just leave everything to me and stay out of it, okay? Mom, answer me already.
Chloe, I'm sorry I have to ask this of you, but could you please cover the rent for us? Just this once, please. We're really in a tough situation here.
No, Beatrice, I'm not going to pay the rent. That's your problem to handle. This isn't something I'm willing to compromise on, so it's absolutely pointless to keep asking me. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm kindly asking you if you could please consider my request. Please. Can't you find it in your heart to help us out this time? Come on, just do it for me.
Even if you keep pleading with me, it won't change anything. I've already made up my mind about this.
Why? I've been closer to you than Morgan, and we lived together for much longer. You can't just abandon me like this. Plus, we've shared so many moments as a family, building bonds and memories together. Haven't those times meant something to you?
Shared moments? The only moments I recall are when you yelled at me whenever you were hungry. Is that what you mean? That doesn't count as bonding or family togetherness, does it? You called me your slave, remember? Screaming at me to make you a meal every day isn't something that would make me feel close to you at all.
Why are you acting so high and mighty? Don't act like you're so tough when you know you miss living with us. If you pay the rent, you can be lucky enough to stay with us again. Isn't that what you want deep down?
How can you have such a stuck-up attitude with me? Do you really think I want to stay with you? I'm sorry, but if you, your husband, and Morgan can't pay the rent, you'll have no choice but to move out. Isn't it obvious that's the only option left?
Move out? What exactly are we supposed to go if we can't stay here? Do you expect us to be homeless?
Maybe you should start looking for a cheaper place to live. You'll have to figure this out on your own. Gosh, how many times do I have to tell you? It's not my responsibility to help you, especially to find you another place to live.
You brat. Even though we're your in-laws, you're still willing to kick your own family out onto the streets? That's too harsh. You have money, don't you? Why are you being so cruel when you could easily help us?
If you want my money so badly, why don't you use Ethan's inheritance? What happened to that money?
What do you mean by that? Are you seriously suggesting we use Ethan's inheritance for this situation?
Well, his inheritance was meant to be used for the whole family. It's what he wanted, wasn't it? You still have part of Ethan's inheritance, right? Or did something happen to the money that I don't know about?
Why are you asking about this now? Of course it's safely kept. There's no need to worry about that. Ethan wanted it to be shared among the whole family. That was clearly stated in his will.
Then why not use some of it for moving expenses? It's what Ethan would have wanted after all. That is, assuming there's any left, if you hadn't already used it all up on something else.
What exactly are you trying to say here?
Beatrice, I am fully aware that you've been secretly keeping all of Ethan's inheritance for yourself without telling anyone else. Morgan and her father have no idea about this, do they? You've kept them in the dark the entire time.
How did you manage to figure that out? I thought I've kept everything a secret.
When you live together, you start to notice little things because I know what you've been up to, Beatrice. Personally, once I realized you were selfishly hoarding Ethan's inheritance, I became absolutely furious and filled with rage. What angered me the most was discovering that you were irresponsibly wasting it all on gambling of all things.
You knew about my gambling? I can't believe you've known about this. If you knew what I was doing, why didn't you confront me earlier?
I am absolutely certain that Ethan loved his family deeply, even up until the very end of his life. That's why I initially thought this must have been a misunderstanding or a simple mistake on your part. It was hard to believe that someone he loved could do something so irresponsible and hurtful with his money. But eventually I realized that it wasn't a mistake at all. The truth came out and it was undeniable. Just as I was planning how to confront you about this, Morgan suddenly kicked me out of the house without warning. Being thrown out of here, it made it difficult to address the situation properly with you.
Please, I'm begging you, don't let Morgan know about any of this. It would devastate her. She's been counting on that inheritance as her safety net, believing she'll eventually be able to claim it. If Morgan finds out that I've used up all the inheritance money, I have no idea what might happen.
I don't care anymore about your stupid excuses or worries about this. You have shattered the memory of Ethan and everything he stood for. Your actions have caused irreparable damage, and whatever consequences you face now are entirely your own doing. You deserve this.
Wait, please listen to me, I'm begging you. Even I know what I did was bad, and I made a huge mistake. I shouldn't have used up all the money that Ethan left for us. I desperately tried to win back the money I lost, but instead I ended up making the situation worse.
Oh, so you sank further into a vicious cycle, only leading to more losses and suffering? That's exactly how gambling destroys lives, so it's not an excuse at all.
Yes, but there's still so much more I need to explain to you.
I'm going to tell Morgan the truth about everything. She deserves to know what really happened.
What? Listen to me. Please don't tell her. This would ruin everything.
What's happening right now? I'm honestly so shocked. I need answers. Are you telling me that my mom seriously threw away all of Ethan's inheritance on gambling?
Yes, that's precisely what happened. Every last penny of his inheritance was completely wiped out by your mother, all gone without a second thought. As a result of her actions, she is now deep in debt with no way out of this financial mess.
That snake. I can't believe her. She won't even answer my calls anymore. Without that inheritance, what are we supposed to do now? We're completely lost without those funds. We're even left without a home and without any money to cover our basic living expenses. What's worse is that my entire business was depending on that inheritance to survive. And now it's all gone. Everything's hopeless.
In the end, it seems like everyone was only interested in Ethan's inheritance. You all exploited his kindness, taking everything he worked so hard for without even caring about him.
Exploited his kindness? Why are you acting like you know everything about our family situation? You have no idea. It's only natural to use a deceased family member's assets. Where else would their money go to?
What are you even saying? Neither you nor your mother cared enough to visit Ethan while he was still alive. The moment he passed away and you learned about the inheritance, you suddenly acted like you were actually worried about him. It's revolting. How do you think Ethan felt knowing he was leaving his money to a family that didn't even care about him?
Well, he didn't give it to us just so we wouldn't use it. Besides, they're just leftovers. You're overreacting.
You don't know anything, do you? Ethan was fully aware that you didn't love him, even if you pretend otherwise now.
What are you talking about?
Despite everything, he loved you all deeply, even if you never reciprocated that love or showed him you cared. He cared so much that he left every single thing he had to you, trusting you would treasure it. All his wealth to a family that barely even bothered to visit him before his death.
Well, that's...
I despised your family from the start, and that feeling hasn't changed. In fact, I loathe you even more now. But knowing how deeply Ethan cared for all of you, I made the difficult decision to live with your family. Those days were nothing short of a nightmare, filled with constant tension and unbearable moments of stress and conflict. Still, I chose to endure it all because of Ethan's love for you was so strong. I did it because I wanted to honor his memory. And yet all that matters to you is his inheritance? It's outrageous. Ethan deserved far better than this from you. How dare you?
Don't blame us for it. We never realized he felt that way about us. We were completely blind to this. Now that we know that, we regret how we treated him and his money.
Ethan is gone forever. Regret won't bring him back, nor will it undo the harm that's already been done.
Well, at least I didn't waste his inheritance on something as reckless and destructive as gambling. I intended to use his inheritance for the greater good of the family, to ensure everyone's well-being and security, unlike my mom with her gambling addiction.
For the family's benefit? Whose bright idea was it to stake everything on using the inheritance to fund a business venture?
Well, that still counts because my business was meant to support the family. It wasn't just some selfish pursuit of personal gain like you say I am.
Enough with the justifications. Even if you come up with 1,000 reasons, it doesn't change the reality of the situation. There is nothing more I can do to help you. I've already done more than enough, and my patience is gone. I bet Ethan would understand the position I'm in. I am confident he would support me in this decision, even now.
Chloe, wait. Are you really just going to walk away and leave us behind? You can't possibly be serious about abandoning us. We've lost our home and our jobs. We're completely out of options. Our family will be left with nothing. We're facing the terrifying reality of living on the streets without any support.
Left with nothing? It's time you start working hard without relying on others before you are forced onto the streets. I am done with this. I've done more than enough to help you since Ethan's death. I've already been paying $50,000 in rent every single month, along with covering all of the living expenses.
Fine. I acknowledge that. I'm grateful for what you've done so far. And since you've already managed so much, can't you please continue helping us just a little bit longer? We're desperate. Ethan would want you to help us too. I'm sure of it. Please, we need your support.
If you dare to use Ethan's name in vain one more time, I swear I won't ever forgive you.
But the situation is partly your fault, isn't it? You're not entirely blameless here, and you know it.
What are you talking about? How could I possibly be the one to blame for all this mess?
Think about it. You're the one who let my mom and dad live in a mansion. That's what started all of these problems. Once they got used to that luxury, how could they possibly go back to living a normal life? You're the one who made everything so difficult for them. You're awful. It's because of you that we're struggling.
Are you seriously trying to blame me for this? Do you really think I'm the one at fault here?
Yes, absolutely. You're exactly why we're in this mess now. That's why you have to take responsibility for the situation you created and help us get out of this disaster.
So you really think I'm responsible for fixing all of this? Your sense of entitlement is absolutely disgusting. I have no obligation to help you anymore. I've already done more than I should have, and I'm finished. I'm serious.
Please, don't abandon us. We're begging you. We can't survive without your help and support right now. Please. If my business fails, I'll be left with overwhelming debts that I can't possibly manage on my own.
That is not my problem at all. Your financial issues are entirely your own responsibility, not mine. I don't want anything to do with you or your problems anymore. Stay away from me, you parasite. I decided to block Morgan's phone number completely, cutting off all communication with her to avoid further involvement. I've made up my mind never to reach out to her again. She had complete disregard for Ethan's memory, and I couldn't stand it any longer. Rumor has it that her parents were eventually evicted from their home after failing to pay the expensive rent last month. This is just what I expected. Now, without a home to call their own, they're struggling daily. They juggle multiple jobs, working tirelessly to pay off their mounting debt. Given that they're also in their later years, it's uncertain whether they'll be able to repay their debt while they're still alive. They may never see freedom again. I sincerely hope they take this time working off their debt to reflect on their past actions and better themselves as people. Meanwhile, everything went downhill for Morgan as well. Her business fell apart entirely after her team disbanded. On top of this, her home was gone. Additionally, the fact that her mother wasted Ethan's inheritance was something Morgan could never forgive, leading to deeper family rifts. As a result, she severed all ties to her parents and now finds herself living in severe poverty and isolation. She has nobody to depend on. The so-called friends with whom she'd had ambitious business plans eventually turned their backs on her when things got tough with the rent. They suddenly abandoned her when she needed them most, revealing their true nature. It's rather sad to see how everything fell apart, showing that those friends were never truly dependable from the beginning. I often wonder what Ethan would think of the current situation if he were still here to witness it, and I honestly have no idea. I figured I would never be able to find out. So, despite everything that's happened, I've decided to focus on my own life now. I hope to leave these troubles behind me and move forward with a clear mind.